There we go. What's up, guys? It's Courtney with CJ Outdoor, and I am doing another urban fishing video. Today I'm down on the harbor in Kenosha, and there's a lot of people, so I'll show you some views of the water and where I'm fishing, and I will record my fishing, but I don't like to record people who are just trying to enjoy the park. So I'm not gonna pan around too much here, but I will go down closer to the water and on the rocks and give you a really awesome view of where I'm going to be fishing. There's all sorts of fish in Lake Michigan. I'm going to be fishing in a harbor near some boats as well as on the rocks. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of different variety of fish. I haven't fished on Lake Michigan in many, many years. I've lived here right next to Lake Michigan my whole life and used to fish here a lot when I was a kid. But so let's go visit my old stomping grounds and let's go fishing. Okay, so I'm going to be fishing along this dock in between the rocks and the dock. This is going to be part 1 because I ended up having to leave early, so I will be doing a part 2 as well. Okay, guys, so I'm going to have the original audio muted. Like I said before, there's a lot of people, families with kids, and even if I were to only be able to hear them and not see them, I just think it's extremely rude to record people and put them on the internet. So I'm going to have the majority of this video's audio muted, and I will be giving you commentary to let you know what I'm doing and what I'm catching, but just not from the original video. I started out with this 1/16 ounce jig head and a white jig body. I was casting all into the dock and then reeling it back. I had a hard time casting side to side and recording because it would have shown a lot of the park and a lot of the people. So I was just casting at the dock and reeling it in, and I kind of didn't like the action I was getting. I'm not sure. Look, some cool little crayfish on the rocks. There was a lot of those guys. I'm not sure if it was because I wasn't able to get good reeling or if it was just the jig body itself, but I tried this a few more times. I did see a few bass, smaller bass in this area, but nothing was biting, so I decided it was time to pack her on up and move down. Okay, so I moved down the dock and I could physically see fish here from the sidewalk. So I came down and I was trying to cast and reel this jig body again, but I kept basically just dragging weeds. And again, I wasn't really getting good action on the jig body. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to switch it out for old trusty earthworms because we want to catch some fish. I've got my jig head tied up, a worm, and a bobber. I ended up picking a heavier jig head. I think it's 1/4 of an ounce, and I was getting cleaned out. The hook was a little bit too big, and these panfish or whatever was nibbling, which happened right away as soon as I dropped a worm in there, were just cleaning off my hook left and right. So I decided to do another switch out to one of my smaller 1/16 ounce jig heads and try again. With my smaller 1/16 ounce jig head, I threw my bobber out just along. There was like a big pile of weeds in the corner of the dock there, and I started getting action right away. My bobber was going crazy, and I got one. And we have our first fish of the day, which happens to be a true bluegill, which is awesome because, as you guys know, I have my Wisconsin fish list, and a bluegill is on my Wisconsin fish list, so now we can officially check this species off the list. That is a nice slab of a fish. If it wasn't for Lake Michigan, I would have totally eaten him. I don't eat out of Lake Michigan, though, so lucky him. Okay, so we're going to go right back out into that area. If I could get my camera angle right. I was on the rocks and I was almost falling down a lot because I'm graceful. And I kept struggling with the camera angle here, but that's okay. I kept casting into that corner over there, which was a really great spot. Instantly my bobber would start going nuts. And I also would get cleaned out a lot. So here I'm reeling back in, hoping something bites, realizing the biting stopped. They took my worm, reel it in, and sure enough, they're little worm thieves. So let's reworm. This is beautiful worm art right here. Let's reworm. Okay, so I'm going to go back out into that little corner and point it out to you guys so you know where I'm aiming at. And we're going to wait and see what has appetite for worm today. Okay, I barely dropped my bobber in here and I get a bite right away, a heavy bite. And I wasn't even able to turn all the way around. Got a fish on. This is a really nice little panfishing spot. Okay, we've got a pumpkin seed. So I'm going to also check this off of my Wisconsin fish list. Woohoo! These are nice size panfish. I mean, they do get bigger, but these are eating sizes for sure. If you or anybody you know would eat out of Lake Michigan, which I know a lot of people do, I just choose not to, you should hit up this spot and get yourself some panfish because it was hot. Okay, so I threw my line back out a couple times, got cleaned out a couple times. And here, I don't know what I'm looking at here, but anyway, my line is out and bam, I got another hit. And we have another nice panfish. This is, again, a pumpkin seed. These are beautiful fish, aren't they? They look so tropical. Anyway, they're pretty decent size. You can see it's about the size of my hand. And even though my hands aren't that big, you know, still, size of my hand. So some really cool fish over here. Definitely good fish in here. Got that bluegill and those pumpkin seeds. But I wanted to check out a different spot of the harbor. I also planned on throwing different bait, but again, I had to leave, but that's okay. So we got down to the end of the harbor, and I'm pointing out there a weed bed. Oh, monarch butterfly. Pointing out a weed bed right up against the pier, and that is where I'm going to cast. I was throwing my hook out, and there was some good action, definitely getting bites, but they must have been very small because they were cleaning my hook, small or sneaky, and they were cleaning my hook left and right, so I kept having to reworm. I was like, you know what, I'm going to cast back out on the opposite side of the pier and reel it past. There's another weed bed under the water. It's not as easy to see. And from here, I just kind of reeled it so it sat in between two weed beds, and that's where I got a good bite. And we're going to pull in another pumpkin seed panfish. This one is quite a bit smaller than, you know, that were down at the other end of the harbor. So, but that's okay. Still super fun to catch. Still a nice fish. Beautiful fish. And this was my fourth fish of the day. There he is, being a little pumpkin seed. And I had to leave from here, so I ended up taking off. There on the rocks, I don't know if you guys can see it, there's some gobies on the rocks. Those are actually invasive species fish. And I've never caught one, but I see them on the rocks all the time. Let me know if you've ever caught a goby. But okay, I have to take off from here. It's time for me to go. But I will be back on Lake Michigan, back in this area. But I'm going to be throwing some lures on the opposite side of the rocks in the open water to see what I can't catch. So stay tuned for part 2 of Lake Michigan fishing, urban fishing.